Okay, so now handing over the stage to our panelist, I would take a leave. Thank you.
Namaskar and a warm welcome to all of you to this specially curated session on the Chausathi Yoginis. Before I go on to introduce my co-panelists, I must first thank Rashmi Ranjan Parida, the entire team of the Kalinga Literary Festival, for having made possible an entire session dedicated to showcasing my books. Not really books, my creative expressions of the Chausathi Yoginis. Because along with the books, I have also created, songs. It would not be right if I say I have created. I have carried along with me my team, that without whom this would not have been possible. So at this juncture, let me introduce to you the eminent composer and singer of our state, and I think somebody who has transcended the borders of state and who is a national figure as well, Sri Om Prakash Mohanty. Grand welcome to you. Alongside him, we have a representative of the India operations, the head of the India operations of Black Eagle Books, my publisher, Sri Ashok Parida, without whom the publication of the books would not have been possible. And in between them, I am of course there. So I will be telling you my story. Basically, I will not be telling you too much about the books, hoping that you may want to get it and read it. But I will definitely be talking to you about what made me write these books and what is the content of this book, and then how did music come along, and what is this relationship between the yoginis and a woman and a goddess, and if you look at it the other way around, a goddess and a woman and a yogini. So let me start at the beginning. And before I start, I would like to show you my first book was The Chausathi Yoginis of Hirapur, From Tantra to Tourism. The cover design has been excellently done by Sri Ashok Parida again, and I will be talking to him about what he wanted to bring in this cover. The second one was, again, as you all know, or probably do not know, that this is a lost cult, the Yogini cult, which rose to prominence around 7th, 8th century AD and lost over to Brahmanism. So during that time, Odisha had two such temples, and the other temple was at Ranipur Jharial. This is my second book, which was the Yoginis of Ranipur Jharial, the tantric goddesses of yore. Being a creative writer, as I was doing nonfiction, because again, let me also tell you that professionally I teach travel and tourism. So I guess now you will probably be understanding my fascination with destinations, and especially lesser known destinations. In fact, the last chapter of both my books deal with why the destination becomes important and what is authentic travel and how does authentic travel relate to wellness and well-being in a post-COVID era. Who is the new traveler and where does the yogini fit in? So while I was doing this, while I was constantly going to the yogini temples, I met Shiva number of times. I also met the 64 yoginis because these two temples deal with Chausathi yoginis and all their names. So this relationship that transpired between the yoginis and Shiva made me write the third book, which is a book of poems, the Yogini poems, Love and Life. All three books have been published by Black Eagle Books, USA, and I'm extremely grateful to the publisher who has let my books grow wings, and they have become familiar with people abroad, because I think it's very, very important that we transcend geographical boundaries when you're talking about creativity. Now, let me just start off by this, the concept of the yoginis. All along, when I'm talking about the Chausathi yoginis, it is a celebration of womanhood. So in these books, basically, I have started off with a quotation which I would like to tell you. In the beginning, God was a woman, and from her womb she created all that is. Thus she is all things, and all things are her. So basically, when I must tell you the story how I went to this Hirapur village. I do not know, many of you probably now with social media. In the previous session, which was an exquisite session of poetry, we also spoke about digital technology. So in digital technology, I think you know today every destination is familiar. Whether correct or incorrect, there is some data in the media available. So it was during one such occasion that we visited the Chausathi Yogini temple in Hirapur village as trainers. I have already told you professionally I teach and we are also trainers. So we basically went to teach the local village folk to revive the traditional occupation of brass metal work. But Hirapur being so close to Bhubaneswar and the young people having such great accessibility to education, none of the younger generation people were interested in the brass metal stuff. You know, they wanted to come to Bhubaneswar, study more and do their work. But whatever, we did give them a 1 week training program on guiding skills because they were in the middle of this Tantra Peeth because Tantra Puja is done in both these sites. And during this, we sat in front of the mandap before the Hypathrial temple, because let me tell you another very important feature of these temples is that they are open temples. I'll tell you why they are open temples, but they are very small. This temple was very small, and I think there is some kind of a divine intervention, maybe, because I did not notice the yoginis, I did not notice the Hypathrial temple. I only thought about the training and I came back. After 4 or 5 years, I started reading Vidyadhija. I started reading few other scanty material that was available on the yoginis, and then I realized that I had missed. I had missed the opportunity of getting to know the yoginis. Ever since then, I've been going back to the yoginis, and the story remains till now. Each time there is something new to discover. So basically, that is what I have tried to tell in these books. Uh, and I cannot tell you what came first. My books came first or the music came first. But I will just try to tell you a little bit about the books and then we'll move on to the music because I think that'll be a wonderful combination if we have words as well music of misinterpretations where tantra is concerned. And I also belong to the tourism fraternity, and the tourism fraternity has somehow distorted the concept of tantra in the lure of getting tourists. So I wanted to find out about that. Is tantra a path to liberation? Is it about libertine sexuality? Or is it about standards of moral purity? Is it about transgressive sexual behavior? Uh, or is it about cannibalism? Because I think all these women are anthropomorphic. You'll see that the head is an animal's and the body is a woman. So all these things led me to the study of the cult. The Yogini cult has its roots in tribal society, and I think today I regard the Yoginis as symbols of emancipated women. Why the Yoginis are relevant even today is that they are stand-alone deities. They are assertive, they are confident. And like the tribal societies, the yoginis symbolize freedom from inhibitions, harmony with nature, values of leisure, being what you want to be. Isn't that what we are trying to be today? We want to have our own say. So that is basically what got me interested. Of course, there are many, many stories as to how the Yogini cult began. I would not like to take you into the mythology but my books do deal with it. And there are stories about the Devi's different parts being the origin, as I have followed the Chandi Purana interpretation. But then there are several other theories also, like the Rudra Upanishad, or you have, the Markandeya Purana giving different other visions, historical interpretations of how the Yogini cults began. But what basically important, points were there, and what I think the books talk about more is the typical nature of the Yogini worship that is there. And of course, I think in both these temples, the Yogini worship is done through tantric rituals. And there is again a whole lot of misinterpretation regarding how the tantric rituals are done. There are a lot of people who feel that human sacrifice is done. But I must tell you one particular aspect which I found out. This is the Shava Chedan ceremony, which is a very integral part of the Yogini cult. And this is always done by beheading a dead body. So the Tantra Pujak is always on the search of a dead body around, which he beheads. Yet another interpretation is that the Chausathi Yoginis are erotic. I think, as we go on, probably, the book deals with all this. They are actually not erotic. They are far from eroticism. But Maithuna is one of the rites, one of the part of the rituals that the tantric puja involves. So these are some of the observations which I kind of undertook. But my fascination was, and again, let me tell you that there are several yogini temples. We have lost many of the yogini temples in India. But it's a matter of great pride that there are two temples here in India, and we need to salvage them. However, at this point, before I further, bore you, I think I will first pose a question to my composer, because all along when I was going to the temple, tantra has a lot to do with mantra, and when mantra comes in, can we leave behind music? So when I approached my composer, Om Prakash Mahanti, and said, I would like to sing something for them, because, I have written a book. My book came first, but it's an incomplete story. I would like to complete it by singing something for them. My mother, Pratibha Rai, agreed to write the song for us. And it was a wonderful process of discovery where we both sat with the composer. And then he had a huge challenge because he had to travel back in time to 7th century. What kind of music was being done then? I didn't want a digitally mastered song for the yoginis. We had to go back to authentic music. So, may I now request you to kindly share your experience regarding the making of that song?
Thank you, Adyasa. When I got the chance to compose the song on Yogini called, first I have visited the temple. I have observed all the idols there. Some of them are broken. I find a very typical nature in those sculptures. All 64 yoginis, their hairstyles are different from each other. There is no repetition. It's a very remarkable observation for me. So that amazed me. And when I thought of composing the music, then I said, okay, it must be very old, ancient temple of 7th century. What was the kind of music were being used during those periods? Then I was in a fix. Then I came back home and sat. I've searched internet as a regular habit of nowadays. Everybody used to do that. What previously somebody did something, or I am going to do it for the first time. Absolutely, there was no material available. While I was planning this, I've sourced and failed. There was no reference. Then I thought of, nowadays we are doing music in a digital format, but that is not, appropriate. If I look to the temple and the yogini call, so I've decided, no, I will be taking some acoustic instruments for the beginning, and then I can adopt other music, regular music like digital things and all. I took the basic percussion instrument dole and the blowing instrument woodwind, we say, that is mahuri. It's a local, typical instrument. And I took the rhythm pattern that is 7 beats, because almost in all Shakti Pitas, this is a typical rhythm pattern they perform, the local performance, those who perform before the deities. And I did it. I don't know how far it will be acceptable, but later on I got a lot of appreciation for that prelude. And the rest, the song contains about the empowerment of women and the rest of the things. Just going to say you, because he's the writer. And however, as a musician, when I have composed that song, the lot of discussion session along with Adyasa and Pratibha Rai. So finally, we did it. And again, after that song, that was on Hirapur, and she gave me another chance to compose another song for Ranipur Jarial. And I was in a fix. So how to do it? How to differentiate? Even though the cult is same, rhythmic patterns would be different. And I was serving in All India Radio Sambalpur for some years. Then I took the rhythm pattern of Western Odisha and did it.
We'll come back to Ranipur Jharyal, but then I would also like to take you through the song because I think, both of them go together. So we were in search of a shloka. And it was very interesting. You see, over time and over generations, there is a tremendous loss of history, of mythology, of our traditional customs and traditions. And in fact, the priest of the Hirapur temple was, I think, saying Jadevi Sarvabhuteshu. So we kept telling him that you are worshipping the yoginis. Don't you have something typical for them? And it was a frustrating experience, but we finally settled for one, and I'll just recite it for you. ॐ जयन्ती मङ्गलाकाली भद्रकाली कपालिनी दुर्गा क्षमा शिवा धात्री स्वाहा स्वधा नमोऽस्तु ते जय त्वं देवी चामुण्डे जय भूतापहारिणी जय सर्वगते देवी कालरात्र नमोऽस्तु ते मधुकैटभविध्वंसी विधात्र वरदे नमः रूपं देहि जयं देहि जशो देहि द्विषो जहि रूपं देहि जयं देहि जशो देहि द्विषो जहि. This is the beginning of the song, and then the song is in Odia. Jogini, 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 Ami Chausathi Bhagini, Ami Prana Sangini, Ami Hirapura Basini, Ami Utkala Nandini, Jogini, Jogini, Jogini. It goes like this, and I think probably you would get the real feel when you listen to the instruments that go along with it.
If possible, can we play the prelude in YouTube? That is.
Can we? Do you have the connectivity? Can we play it?
No, we can just put a microphone. Because it's a very typical experimentation. That's why I want everybody should. Do you have any provision to play it from YouTube? Okay, we can just. Yeah, this was the transition. I took the typical percussion instrument, dole and mohuri, and then fused it with the rest of the songs. You can watch it in YouTube. No point to waste your valuable time right now.
Yeah, so this was the story of the music, the creation of the song. And we had a very unique release function at the temple. We went back to the temple and we played the song there. We didn't have a chief speaker or an inaugurator. The Yoginis inaugurated the song and the book. And in this book, for your information, since I'm now going to come to my publisher, basically it was a non-fiction and it was more of research into it. So I've basically taken up the Vahanas. Now, I must tell you that both at Ranipur Jharial and at Hirapur, there are 64 yoginis. That is a Chausathi Yogini temple. But in the Chausathi Yogini temple, like he has very rightly mentioned, that they are very, remarkable for the coiffures, the headdress, the ornamentation, the attire. They are not nude. In fact, when you look minutely, you will see that they are wearing clothes. And they are all known for their vahanas. Each one of these statues has a distinct vahana. By comparison, in the Ranipur Jharial temple, you have all the Chausathi Yoginis in the Odissi pose. That is why there is an integral connection between this dance and the statues of the Ranipur Jharial temple. ASI has taken over these two temples for protection, and I think it is extremely important because we have already lost out on many of these precious Yogini temples. The temple at Ranipur Jharial is almost at the point of destruction. The face of the Yoginis is completely lost because they are made of sandstone. It is not because of Kala Pahad or any such theory. It is primarily because of the climate. Because over the years, sandstone has not been able to weather the impact. And that is one aspect which I have dealt with. Then, of course, the Shakti cult and a little bit of literature review. Then I have also made a comparison of the yoginis of Utkal and the yoginis of India with those of Angkor Wat. Because when you have some of you who have visited Siem Reap and Angkor Wat, they also worship the yoginis as devatas. So what is the similarity? What are the contrasts? What is the basic concept of the goddess, etc.? And then I have both in my book on Ranipur Jharial and on Hirapur, I've spoken about the aspect of cultural tourism. How do we resuscitate these destinations? But before I do that, let me now tell you the agony of a writer who has a book and does not have a publication platform. So it is at such a juncture that I came to Black Eagle Books. They are based at USA, but they have operations in India as well. And Ashok Parida heads the India operations. And they took this up. Both the designs were done by him. The book went on to do well. They sold well. They went on to become Amazon bestsellers. ତେଣୁ ମୁଁ ଏବେ ଅନୁରୋଧ କରିବି ଅଶୋକ ବାବୁଙ୍କୁ ସେ କିଛି କହିବେ এই ବହି ବିଷୟରେ ସେମାନେ କାହିଁକି ବହିଟିକୁ ନେବାକୁ ଚାହିଁଲେ ଏବଂ ତା ପରବର୍ତ୍ତୀ କାଳରେ ଅନ୍ୟ ଦୁଇଟି ବହି ମଧ୍ୟ ଯୋଗିନୀ କଲ୍ଚର ସେମାନେ ପ୍ରକାଶନ ଦାୟିତ୍ୱ ନେଲେ ଏବଂ ବହି ଭଲ ଚାଲିଛି ସୋ a little bit about that if you can please.
ଧନ୍ୟବାଦ ଆଦେଶା ମ୍ୟାଡ଼ାମ ବାସ୍ତବରେ ଏଠି ବସି ଯିଏ କହିବା କଥା ସିଏ ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ଡବ୍ଲିନ୍ ୟୁଏସ୍ରେ ଶୋଇଛନ୍ତି ତେଣୁ ତାଙ୍କର ପ୍ରକ୍ସି ମୁଁ ଏଠି ପକାଉଛି ତେଣୁ ସିଏ ଯାହା ଯାହା ଆପଣଙ୍କୁ ଏ ପ୍ରକାଶନ ବିଷୟରେ ସିଏ ଆମ ଡାଇରେକ୍ଟର ସିଏ ଯାହା ଯାହା କହିପାରିଥାନ୍ତେ ହୁଏତ ମୁଁ ସେତିକି କହିପାରିବିନି କିନ୍ତୁ ମୁଁ କିଛି ଚାହିଁବି ଆପଣମାନଙ୍କୁ ଆମର ନୂଆ ପବ୍ଲିକେସନ୍ ତା ବିଷୟରେ କିଛି ଅଳ୍ପ ବହୁତ ସମସ୍ତେ ଜାଣନ୍ତୁ ଆମେ 3 ବର୍ଷ ଭିତରେ ଆଟଲିଷ୍ଟ 350ରୁ ଉର୍ଦ୍ଧ୍ୱ ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ସୁଦ୍ଧା ଆମର ଟାଇଟଲ କରିସାରିଲୁଣି ଯେତେବେଳେ ନୂଆ ନୂଆ ଆମେ ଆରମ୍ଭ କରିଥିଲୁ ସତ୍ୟବାବୁ ପ୍ରସ୍ତାବ ଦେଲେ ଗୋଟେ ପବ୍ଲିକେସନ୍ ହେବ କେମିତି ଅଶୋକ ତମେ ଓଡ଼ିଶା ଦାୟିତ୍ୱ ଇଣ୍ଡିଆ ଦାୟିତ୍ୱରେ ରୁହ କେମିତି କରିବା ତାଙ୍କର ସିଏ ସେଠି ରହିଥିଲେ ମୁଁ ଏଠି ରହିଥିଲି କୌଣସି ଆଇଡ଼ିଆ ନଥିଲା ପବ୍ଲିକେସନ୍ ଉପରେ ଯଦିଓ ମୋର ଆଇଡ଼ିଆ ଥିଲା କିନ୍ତୁ ସିଏ ସେଠୁ ଆରମ୍ଭ କରିବେ କେମିତି ଡିଷ୍ଟ୍ରିବ୍ୟୁସନ୍ ହେବ ଫାଷ୍ଟ ସମସ୍ୟା ଆମ ପାଖରେ ଆସି ବହି ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆମେ ତିଆରି କଲୁ ସମସ୍ୟା ଠିଆ ହେଲା ଡିଷ୍ଟ୍ରିବ୍ୟୁସନ୍ରେ ପ୍ରଥମେ ଆମେ ଯେଉଁଠିକି ବହି ଦେଲୁ କେଉଁଠି ବି ରିଟର୍ନ ଆସିଲାନି ପବ୍ଲିସରର ବଡ଼ ବ୍ୟାକବୋନ୍ ହେଲା ତାର ଯଦି ଫାଇନାନ୍ସ ଠିକ୍ ନ ରହିବ ସେ ବେଶୀ ଦିନ ତିଷ୍ଠି ପାରିବ ନାହିଁ ତେଣୁ ସେ କଥାଟାକୁ ସତ୍ୟବାବୁ ତାଙ୍କ ପାଖରେ ଯେତେ ବି ସେ ଆର୍ଥିକ ସମୃଦ୍ଧ ହେଉଥିଲେ ମଧ୍ୟ ସିଏ କିନ୍ତୁ ଗୁରୁତ୍ୱ ଦିଅନ୍ତି ଫାଇନାନ୍ସକୁ ଆମେ ଷ୍ଟ୍ରଙ୍ଗ କରିବା ସିଏ ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ କଥା କହି ରଖେ ସେ ପବ୍ଲିକେସନ୍ ଆରମ୍ଭ କରିବାରୁ ସେ ଓଡ଼ିଆ ବହିକୁ ଏତେ ଭଲ ପାଆନ୍ତି ତା ପୂର୍ବରୁ ଆମର ପବ୍ଲିକେସନ୍ ଆରମ୍ଭ ହେବାର ବହୁତ ଦିନ ପୂର୍ବରୁ ଇଭିନ୍ ମୋ ସାଙ୍ଗରେ ସମ୍ପର୍କ ହୋଇନଥିବା ପୂର୍ବରୁ ମଧ୍ୟ ସିଏ ଲକ୍ଷ ଲକ୍ଷ ଟଙ୍କାର ବହି ନେଇ ସେଠି ବିକ୍ରି କରନ୍ତି ମାନେ ନୁହେଁ ଯେ ମାନେ ପ୍ରଫିଟ୍ ପାଇଁ ଓଡ଼ିଆ ବହି ଆମେରିକାରେ ସମସ୍ତେ ପଢ଼ନ୍ତୁ ଆମ ଓଡ଼ିଆ ଲୋକମାନେ ଯେଉଁମାନେ ଅଛନ୍ତି ସେମାନେ ଧୀରେ ଧୀରେ ଓଡ଼ିଆ ଠାରୁ ଦୂରେଇ ଯାଉଛନ୍ତି ତେଣୁ ତାଙ୍କୁ ରଖିବା ପାଇଁ କିନ୍ତୁ କାହାକୁ ସେ ଫ୍ରି ଦିଅନ୍ତିନି କୌଣସି ଲୋକଙ୍କୁ ସେ ବହି ଫ୍ରି ଦିଅନ୍ତିନି ସେ ଚାହିଁଥିଲେ ମଧ୍ୟ ଲକ୍ଷେ ଟଙ୍କାର ବହି ନେଇ ବାଣ୍ଟି ଦେଇ ପାରିଥାନ୍ତି କିନ୍ତୁ ସେ କାହାକୁ ବହି ଗୋଟେ ବି ଫ୍ରି ଦିଅନ୍ତିନି, ସମସ୍ତଙ୍କୁ ବିକ୍ରି କରନ୍ତି ଏବଂ ବିକ୍ରି ଏଠୁ ଗୋଟେ ବହି ଆମେରିକାକୁ ଗଲେ ତାର କଷ୍ଟ ପାଖାପାଖି 2 ରୁ 3 ଗୁଣା ହେଇଯିବ। ତେଣୁ ସିଏ ତାକୁ ସେଠି ଗୋଟେ କଷ୍ଟିଂ କରି ନିଜ ଗାଡ଼ିରେ ନିଜେ ଲେବର କରିବେ, ନିଜେ ପେଟରେ ପୁରେଇବେ, ତାକୁ ନେଇକି ସେଠି ଗୋଟେ ବେଳେ ଛୋଟ ଟେବୁଲ ତାଙ୍କୁ ଦିଆଯାଏ, ତାଙ୍କର ଯେଉଁ ଓଷାର ଯେଉଁ ବାର୍ଷିକ ଉତ୍ସବ ହୁଏ ଆଉ ଛୋଟ ଛୋଟ ଗୋଟେ ଦୁଇଟା ମିଟିଂ ହୁଏ, ଇଏ ଯାଆନ୍ତି ସେଠି ସେ ବହି ଗୁଡ଼ାକ ଓଡ଼ିଆ ବହି ସବୁ ଡିସପ୍ଲେ କରନ୍ତି। ପ୍ରତିମା ମ୍ୟାଡ଼ାମଙ୍କର ମଧ୍ୟ ବହୁତ ବହି ନିଅନ୍ତି, ବିଭୂତି ପଟ୍ଟନାୟକଙ୍କର ନିଅନ୍ତି, ଗୌରହରି ଦାସଙ୍କ ନିଅନ୍ତି, ଏମିତି ବିଭିନ୍ନ ବହି ସେ ନେଇକିରି ଯେତେ ଓଡ଼ିଶାର ଏବଂ ଏବେ ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ କଥା, ଆମେରିକାରେ ଯେତେ ସବୁ ଭଲ ଭଲ ଲେଖକଙ୍କ ବହି ମିଳୁଛି, ଏବେ ବୋଧେ 2-3 ଲକ୍ଷ ଟଙ୍କାର ବହି ଆମର ଏଠି ବୁକ୍ ଫେୟାରକୁ ପଠାଇଥିଲେ ଏବଂ ଆମ ଓଡ଼ିଶା ଲୋକ ମଧ୍ୟ ସେ ଭଲ ବହି ପଢ଼ନ୍ତୁ ଏବଂ ସେଇ ଷ୍ଟାଣ୍ଡାର୍ଡ ତାଠାରୁ ଆହୁରି ଭଲ ଲେଖନ୍ତୁ, ତାଙ୍କର ଏଇଟା ହେଉଛି ଉଦ୍ଦେଶ୍ୟ। ତେଣୁ ଆମେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ପ୍ରଥମେ ପବ୍ଲିକେସନ୍ କଲୁ, ଯେଉଁ ଡିଷ୍ଟ୍ରିବ୍ୟୁସନର ଯେଉଁ ସମସ୍ୟା ରହିଥିଲା, ଆମେ ରିଟର୍ନ ପାଇଲୁନି, ତାପରେ ଆମେ କିଛି ଲୋକଙ୍କୁ ବନ୍ଦ କରିଦେଲୁ ବହି ଦେବା। ଆମେ ଆମାଜନ ଆଉ ଫ୍ଲିପକାର୍ଟକୁ ଗଲୁ, ସେତେବେଳେ ଆମେ ଯାଇନଥିଲୁ ଆମାଜନ ଫ୍ଲିପକାର୍ଟକୁ, ସେଠି ଗଲୁ। ଆଦ୍ୟାଶା ମ୍ୟାଡ଼ାମଙ୍କର ବହି ଆମର 2019ରେ ପ୍ରକାଶ ପାଇଥିଲା। 2019ରେ ସେ ବେଷ୍ଟ ସେଲର ହେଲା ଆମାଜନର, ଏବଂ ସେ ବହି ଆମେ ଅଷ୍ଟ୍ରେଲିଆ, ଆମେରିକା, ନ୍ୟୁଜିଲାଣ୍ଡ, ଫିନଲାଣ୍ଡ ଏମିତି ବିଭିନ୍ନ କଣ୍ଟ୍ରିରେ ବିକ୍ରି କରିଛୁ। ଏବେ ଆମ ଯେଉଁ ବ୍ଲାକ୍ ଇଗଲ ବୁକ୍ସରେ ଛପା ଯାଉଥିବା ବହି ପ୍ରତ୍ୟେକ କଣ୍ଟ୍ରିରେ ଆପଣ ପାଇପାରିବେ। ହାର୍ଡ କପି ମାନେ ସଫ୍ଟ କପି ନୁହେଁ, ଯେଉଁଟାକି ମୋବାଇଲରେ କିମ୍ବା ଇଏ ପଢ଼ିବା ପାଇଁ, ହାର୍ଡ କପି ଆପଣ ପାଇପାରିବେ। ତେଣୁ ଆଦ୍ୟାଶା ମ୍ୟାଡ଼ାମଙ୍କ ତାଙ୍କର ବହି ଯେତେ କରିଛନ୍ତି, ସିଏ ମୋତେ ଫାଷ୍ଟରୁ କ'ଣ ଗୋଟେ ଭଲ ପାଇଗଲେ, ଅଶୋକ ତମେ କଭର କରିବ। ମୁଁ କହିଲି ନା ମ୍ୟାଡ଼ାମ ଆପଣ କଭର ମୁଁ ପାରିବିନି, ଆପଣ ଆଉ କାହାକୁ ଜଣ କରନ୍ତୁ, ଆର୍ଟିଷ୍ଟ କାହାକୁ, ମୁଁ ତାକୁ ବାଗେଇ ଦେବି। କିନ୍ତୁ ସିଏ କ'ଣ ପାଇଁ କେଜାଣି ମୋତେ ଫୋର୍ସ କଲେ। ମୁଁ ଟିକେ ଯିଏ ବଡ଼ ବଡ଼ ଲେଖକ କିମ୍ବା ପ୍ରତିମା ମ୍ୟାଡ଼ାମ କହିଲେ ମୁଁ ଟିକେ ଭୟ କରେ କରିବାକୁ, କାହିଁକିନା ଭଲ ହବନି, ଗୋଟେ ଇଣ୍ଟରନ୍ୟାସନାଲ ମାର୍କେଟକୁ ଯେତେବେଳେ ବହିଟା ଯିବ। ସେତେବେଳେ ବି ଆମର ନୂଆ ନୂଆ ପ୍ରକାଶନ ହେଉଥିଲା। ଆମ ସହିତ ଆଉ ଜଣେ ସେ ଅତୁଲ ବଳ, ଯିଏକି ଅତୁଲ ଭାଇ ଯୋଡ଼ି ହେଇଥିଲେ, ସିଏ ଆମ କଭର ବି କିଛି କରନ୍ତି। ତାପରେ ମୁଁ କଭର ସହିତ ଜଡ଼ିତ ହେଲି, ଯିଏକି ସତ୍ୟ ଭାଇ ନିରନ୍ତର ପ୍ରୟାସ କରନ୍ତି। ସିଏ କହିଲେ ଅଶୋକ ତମେ କର, ନହେଲେ ମୁଁ ଏଠି ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ କଭର ପେଜ କରିବା ଶିଖିବି। ସିଏ କିନ୍ତୁ କୌଣସି କଥାକୁ ଛାଡ଼ନ୍ତିନି, ସେ ଯୋଉଟାରେ ଆରମ୍ଭ କଲେ ମାନେ ପୁରା ଆପଣ ବିଶ୍ୱାସ କରିବେନି 24/7 ସିଏ ପୁରା ପବ୍ଲିକେସନ ଓଡ଼ିଆ ବହି ସହିତ ଲାଗି ରହିଛନ୍ତି। ଏମିତି କେହି ବି ଏତେ ଫୋକସରେ କାମ କରୁନଥିବେ, ଆଉ ସବୁବେଳେ ରିସର୍ଚ୍ଚ କରୁଥିବେ କୋଉ ବହିଟା କଲେ ଭଲ ବିକ୍ରି ହେବ, କୋଉ ବହି ଲୋକ ଭଲ ପଢ଼ିବେ ଏବଂ କୋଉ ଓଡ଼ିଆ ବହି। ଆପଣ ଆମେରିକାର ପ୍ରତ୍ୟେକ ଲାଇବ୍ରେରୀରେ ଏବେ ଆମ ବହି ଉପଲବ୍ଧ, ଓଡ଼ିଆ ବହି ପ୍ରତ୍ୟେକ ଲାଇବ୍ରେରୀରେ ପାଇପାରିବେ, ଯୋଉଟାକି ଆଗରୁ କେବେ ଓଡ଼ିଆ ବହି ଜଣେ ଚାହିଁବ ଆମେରିକାନ ଲାଇବ୍ରେରୀରେ ପଢ଼ିବା ପାଇଁ କେବେ ପାଇପାରୁନଥିଲା। ଏବେ ଆମେ ତାଙ୍କ ପାଖରେ, ଏବଂ ତା ପଛରେ ମଧ୍ୟ ସତ୍ୟବାବୁ ସେମାନେ ଏମିତି ନୁହେଁ ଯେ ଆମଠାରୁ ଆସିକିରି ନେଇଗଲେ, ଆମେ ଗୋଟେ ପବ୍ଲିକେସନ ଆରମ୍ଭ କରିଦେଲୁ ସେମାନେ ନେଇଗଲେ, ନିରନ୍ତର ଲାଗି ରହିଥାନ୍ତି, ଚିଠି ଦଉଥାନ୍ତି। ସିଏ ଆମ ବହି ପାଇଁ ବାରମ୍ବାର କୋଉଠୁ ରିଫ୍ୟୁଜ ହେଇଯାଇଥାଏ, ତାଙ୍କୁ ରିକ୍ୱେଷ୍ଟ କରୁଥାନ୍ତି, ତାଙ୍କର କ'ଣ ସବୁ କ୍ରାଇଟେରିଆ ଅଛି ତାକୁ ଫୁଲଫିଲ୍ କରୁଥାନ୍ତି। ଏବଂ ସେଠିକାର ଆୱାର୍ଡ ପାଇଁ ମଧ୍ୟ ଅନେକ ରାଇଟର ଜାଣିନଥିବେ, ତାଙ୍କ ବହିକି ସେମାନେ ସେଠୁ ଆପ୍ଲାଏ କରନ୍ତି। କେତେ ସମୟ ସେ ଦଉଛନ୍ତି, କିନ୍ତୁ କୌଣସି ରିଟର୍ନ ସେ ଏପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ ପାଇନାହାନ୍ତି। ଏବଂ ବ୍ଲାକ୍ ଇଗଲ ବୁକ୍ସ ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ଓଡ଼ିଆ ବହିକୁ ଚାହୁଁଛି ଗୋଟେ ଅଲଗା ସ୍ତରକୁ ନେଇଯିବା ପାଇଁ। ଆଉ ଆଦ୍ୟାଶା ମ୍ୟାଡ଼ାମଙ୍କର ଏ ବହିଟି ସେ ସବୁ ଯାକ କଭର ସେଠୁ ମୋ ଦ୍ୱାରା କରାଇଲେ, ଏବଂ ଏମିତି ଗୋଟେ ସେ ମାଆଙ୍କ ଆଶୀର୍ବାଦ, ତାଙ୍କ କଭର ଗୁଡ଼ା ଭଲ ହେଇଯାଏ। ଗୋଟେ ଦିଟା ମୁଁ ତାଙ୍କୁ କରିକି ଦିଏ, ଆପ୍ରିସିଏଟ୍ ସେ କରନ୍ତି ଏବଂ ଭଲ ଲାଗେ ମୋତେ। 3ଟା କଭର ଭଲ ଇଏ ହେଇଛି। ତେଣୁ ଧନ୍ୟବାଦ ଆଦ୍ୟାଶା ମ୍ୟାଡ଼ାମକୁ, ଯିଏକି ଆକ୍ଚୁଆଲି ମୁଁ ମନା କରିଥିଲି, ମୁଁ କହିଲି ମୋର ମାନେ ପବ୍ଲିକ ସ୍ପିକ୍ ମୁଁ ଏତେ କହିପାରିବିନି, କିନ୍ତୁ ସିଏ ମୋତେ କହିଲେ ନା ନା ତୁମେ ଯିବ, ତୁମେ କିଛି କହିବନି, ସେଠି ମୋ ପାଖରେ ବସିବ, ପବ୍ଲିସରର ଜଣେ ରିପ୍ରେଜେଣ୍ଟ ଦରକାର, ତେଣୁ ତୁମେ ମୋ ପାଖରେ ବସିବ, ମୁଁ ସବୁ ତୁମକୁ ଆଡଜଷ୍ଟ କରି ନେଇଯିବି।
ଆପଣ କେବେ ବିଶ୍ୱାସ ତ କରିବେନି ଯେ ପବ୍ଲିକ ସ୍ପିକିଂ ଭଲ କରନ୍ତି ନାହିଁ। ତେଣୁ ଆଇ ଫିଲ୍ ସୋ ପ୍ରାଉଡ୍ ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ ଆଇ ହାଭ୍ ଅ ଷ୍ଟ୍ରଙ୍ଗ ପବ୍ଲିକେସନ ହାଉସ୍ ବ୍ୟାକିଂ ମି। ମୁଁ ଏବେ ମୋର ପରବର୍ତ୍ତୀ ଯୋଗିନୀ କାମଟି କରିବାକୁ ଯାଉଛି। ଆଣ୍ଡ ୟେସ୍, ଆଇ ମିସ୍ ଦ ପ୍ରେଜେନ୍ସ ଅଫ୍ ଶ୍ରୀ ସତ୍ୟ ପଟ୍ଟନାୟକ, ହୁ ଇଜ୍ ଦ ଡିରେକ୍ଟର ଅଫ୍ ବ୍ଲାକ୍ ଇଗଲ ବୁକ୍ସ USA, ଯାହାଙ୍କର ପ୍ରୋତ୍ସାହନ ଏବଂ ମୋଟିଭେସନ ମୋତେ ନେଇଯାଇଥିଲା ଇନ୍ ଦିସ୍. I would not like to announce my forthcoming work, but I think probably I'll wait for the release in the next Kalinga festival probably.
ଗୋଟେ କଥା ଯେ କି ବ୍ଲାକ୍ ଇଗଲ ବୁକ୍ସ ଏଇଟା ମୁଁ ମାନେ କହିବାକୁ ଚାହୁଁନି, ତଥାପି କହୁଛି ଯେ କି ଗୋଟେ ରୟାଲିଟିର ପ୍ରୋଭିଜନ ରଖିଥାଏ ଯେ କି ଏ ବହି 2019ରୁ ଆଜି ପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ ଆମର 4 ଥର ରୟାଲିଟି ଇୟର ଏଣ୍ଡିଂରେ ଥରେ ଦିଆଯାଏ, ଯେ କି ଏ ବହି 4 ଥର ଯାକ ରୟାଲିଟି ଆଭେଲ କରିଛି। ତେଣୁ ବିକ୍ରି ହୋଇ ଚାଲିଛି ସେ ବହି। ଏବଂ ଏ ବହିଟି ଆପଣ ବିଶ୍ୱାସ କରିବେନି ୟୁପି, ବିହାର ଆଉ ଆମର ଆନ୍ଧ୍ରପ୍ରଦେଶ ଏଇ ଷ୍ଟେଟ ମାନଙ୍କରେ ବେଶୀ ବିକ୍ରି ହଉଛି। ସେମାନେ ଏଇ ବହିଟାର ବିକ୍ରି ଚାହିଦା ସେ ବେଶୀ ଅଧିକା, ଆମ ଓଡ଼ିଶା ଅପେକ୍ଷା ସେ ଷ୍ଟେଟରେ ବେଶୀ ଅଧିକା।
Thank you very much. ମୁଁ ଜାଣିଛି ଆମର ସମୟ ସ୍ୱଳ୍ପ ରହିଛି, but 5 minute ନେବି। I will conclude with 4 lines of the a poem book ଯୋଉଟା ମୁଁ କହିଥିଲି, because these poems are for very special women. They are the yoginis, and believe me, I have met yoginis on the roads, in the halls, even in Kalinga Literary Festival. They are everywhere. They are not confined to Ranipur Jharial and Hirapur alone. So one of the poems which I had written is, my mind is trapped in this very body of stone. Take all from me, but my power to realize that you are gone. Be my companion, my alter ego, just mine. If you try, you can reach me. The surface is rough, the climb tough. Can you walk down a bit? There is no starting point, no point of end. You to me, an eternal quest. One of the poems for the yoginis, but we have come round, I think, from very excellent inputs by Shri Ashok Parida to very musical inputs by Shri Om Prakash Mohanty. And I am so very thankful for the platform, also wonderful listeners. Initially, I was thinking that even if there are 4 or 5 discerning listeners, I'm happy, but I think we have many more now. So we would like to end with the song on Ranipur Jharial, 2 lines. And I think I'll request if you can sing along with me, please, please. My composer has to, help me out. So this is what we did in Hirapur. We took all 64 yoginis singing together, saying, Ame Chausathi Yoginis. But in Hirapur, in Ranipur Jharial, all 64 subsumed and became one, Mu Ranipur Rani. And it was a wonderful creation because Ileana Satarasti, who is Padma Shri awardee and a very, very well-known personality in the field of Odissi, has danced. And I have lent my voice to wonderful music which has been created by Shri Om Prakash Mohanty. So I will just sing 2 lines. Mu Ranipura Rani, mu tapaswini tantra naika yogini. অনেক নামরে একাকিনী নারী শক্তি, মু বিপদ নাশিনী, শিব শক্তি মু ইতিহাস পাষাণরে নুহে বন্দিনী, মু উৎকলিনী, মু রাণীপুর রাণী, mu tapaswini tantra naika yogini. With this, we come to the end of our small saga of the Chausathi Yoginis. Do visit the temples if you have the time, and do think about the yoginis. Thank you so much. And don't remember to go to the YouTube and check out these 2 songs as advised by Shri Om Prakash Mohanty. I thank my panelists as well.
I hope our audiences must have been continuously enjoying the session, ma'am. Standing here, I was literally thinking the session would not over, but because of time, short of time, we have to run. But still, I would ask our speakers to please stand for a group photograph. Wasting time, I would